In today's video, I'll show you how to run the Python program in the easiest way. And step 1 we're going to follow is to download the Anaconda computer program. So what is the Anaconda computer program? So this is a distribution of the Python and R programming language for scientific computing that aims to simplify package management and deployment. So it is designed specifically for machine learning and data science, and there are over 1,500 pre-installed packages that come with Anaconda. So these pre-installed packages will save us a lot of time and effort, as we will not have to install every package on its own. So take note, we don't have to actually use the Anaconda distribution for us to be able to run Python code, but running it will come with a lot of benefits if we do. So when using Anaconda, we also do not need to install Python separately, as Anaconda will come with its own version of Python. Alright, so let's download Anaconda first. Alright, so we're going to go to Google and search for Anaconda. So just type that in and click on search. Then we are going to look for the website at the very top. So this is what we're going to go to. So click on it. Then here it actually opens. Then we're going to scroll to the very bottom so that we can check and select the platform that we're actually using. So it will actually know by default, but we're going to choose Windows because I'm using a Windows PC. So click here and then it will actually download. Alright, so now I can go into downloads and click on the software and it will install. So now I'm going to install it. So now I'm going to click on next. Then I'm going to just scroll through these options and agree. Then I'll just select next. Then that's why it's going to install, and just click on next. Then I'll just click on finish. Alright, so now I'll wait for it to install. I forwarded the video, but it will take some time to install, but it will eventually install. So once it installs, we can now see, we can click on next, and then we can now click on finish. Alright, so once we are done with installing the Anaconda computer program, we can now go to step 2 to download the Visual Studio Code. So what is Visual Studio Code? Visual Studio Code is a free and open source code editor developed by Microsoft. It is available on Windows, Mac OS and Linux. It supports many programming languages for which a developer does not require web support. So everything can be found built in its multi-language support. It is extensible with a large number of extensions available to add new features and functionality. And then the most important function to me is it is lightweight and fast, and so it can be used on even older computers. Alright, so let's download it. So we're going to go to Google again, then search for Visual Studio Code and click enter. So we're going to choose the very first option here. So that's the website. So click on it. And then we're just going to scroll to the bottom, and also like we've done before, we're going to select our platform. So we're going to choose the Windows platform that we're actually using. So now click install once it's downloaded, and then we're going to choose I accept the agreement. Click on next. So that's why it's going to install. Next. Then we don't need to, we should just make sure it actually creates an icon on the desktop. So click install, then just wait for it to install. So it's going to take some time, but I've actually fast forwarded the video to the end of the installation process. So now I'm going to click on finish. I don't need it to launch immediately, so I'm clicking on finish. Now I can go to the start and look for where I have the Anaconda installed, and now I want to check for the Python version that I've actually installed. So now here in this command line of the Anaconda prompt, type in the word Python and then click enter. Then we can see the Python version that I've actually installed. It's Python 3.11. So that's the Python version, and that's how you actually get to know the Python version. So as we've said, it installs together with the Anaconda software. So now go to the start again, then click on the Anaconda, and then we're going to look for the navigator. So now open the navigator. So this will allow us to actually manage all the software that it actually works with. So now we are going to open Visual Studio Code from here. So now we're going to launch it. So open it, then give it a few seconds. So now we're going to expand this menu. So this is what you see at the very beginning when you open Visual Studio Code. Then we're actually just going to click on Mark Done. And then once we've done that, we're going to install a Python extension. So go to extensions and we're going to type the word Python. So type in the word Python, and then the very first extension that comes is actually the one that we're actually looking for. So this one is what we're looking for. So click on install. Now this is it installing, and then once it installs, it will actually now be useful every time we actually work with our Python program. So you can now close that. Alright, so once you've installed Visual Studio Code and installed the Python extension, the next step is to set the default Python interpreter path. Alright, so what is an interpreter? An interpreter translates the command that you write out into code that the computer can understand. Our default interpreter path should be this, as we have it right here. Let me show you how to get to this path. So where you have my computer, go to drive C, and then we're going to go to our users. So you're going to go to where you have your username, and then inside here you're going to look for Anaconda 3 folder, and then right here you're going to look for the Python exe icon, and this is actually where it is located. So now we need its location. So at the very top, when you double click, you can actually see this is the location to the interpreter path. So now back into Visual Studio Code, we're going to check how the interpreter path is actually written. So click on settings, then go and search for Python. So type in the word Python. Then we're going to scroll through the different items here, and then we're going to look for default interpreter path to see what has actually been set. So I want to make sure that the path is actually the same. So when I scroll through until I find Python default interpreter path, so scroll through, then right here I can actually see the default interpreter path. So you can actually see it is already set for you by default because we installed Anaconda with it, so we don't need to make any changes. So now it will actually work. So what we can do next is we can create a folder where we're actually going to have our Python file. So now we're going to add a new file in my case. So add a new file. So we're going to go to the desktop, and this is where I actually want to have my Python code. So now we're going to create a new folder. I'm going to call my folder Python test. Yes, this will be an easy name to remember. Then we're going to click on add. Now once we've done that, just click on yes, because you can trust that. Then we can actually create a new file inside that folder. So close this. So create a new file, and the file will just have to have an extension of .py. So I'm going to call it file.py and click enter. So we need to actually save it pre. So let me rename it again, file.py. So the py means it's actually a Python file. So I'm going to create this file, and then right here I'm actually now going to type my Python code. So I'm going to type simple code. So I'm just going to print some words on my screen. So I'm just going to type the word print, then inside there I'm actually going to type the words my first Python code. Alright, so now we can now run this Python file to test and see if it works. Just give it a second and it should actually run. Alright, so you can see it is actually worked. So that's a working Python file. I hope this video really helped you. If it did, feel free to give the video a thumbs up and tell me below in the comments if it did. If you're new to this channel, I encourage you to join the community by subscribing and hit the notification bell so that you get updated every single time I upload a new video.